Hi there. Today we're going to talk about the Council of Chalcedon. It was in 451 AD. The title is Defining Christ, Dividing the Church. Okay, so let's begin with this little abstract of the Council. It's an amazing topic and it's very beautiful to talk about this because after three councils, in this fourth council, the Christology was finally defined. Okay, so let's go on with this. Okay, turning point for Christianity. Okay, as you can see here, there is a map of the Roman Empire. Chalcedon was in this province of the Roman Empire. Okay, and if you can see here, Chalcedon is in the Asian side of the Bosphorus, just in front of Constantinople. Okay, the main objective of this council was to address and refute the Monophysite views concerning the nature of Jesus Christ. Okay, Section 1, the Christological debate. Central controversy, Monophysitism. Okay, as you can see here, this is a concept. Okay, Nicaea had defined that Jesus was God, but some denied the humanity of Jesus Christ. So what was the problem? We have to find how divine nature and human nature uh, worked to define the person of Jesus Christ. So the Monophysite concept is divine nature plus human nature gives us this result, a single observed divine nature. It meant that the divine nature of Jesus absorbed all his humanity, and he was not human anymore. He did not have human nature. And let's see a little bit of history. The central issue was the teaching of Eutyches, a monk from Constantinople. Eutyches' monophysite view. He advocated that Christ's humanity, the human nature, disappeared, was absorbed by the divine, as you can see here in this scheme. What are the implications of this view? This led to beliefs that Christ never suffered, never cried, or never felt anything. The Council considered this a problematic deviation from Orthodox doctrine. Okay, and there's something important. This posture was trying to defend the orthodoxy of the Council of Nicaea, which defined that uh, Jesus Christ was of the same nature than the Father. Okay, but they went to the opposite side of the equation, saying that he was not human. While Arius said Jesus was more human, the Monophysites said he was not human at all. Okay, What? But what happened? The Chalcedonian definition. Okay? The council established the doctrine of Christ having two natures, divine and human, united in one person. Hypostasis. Okay? This is the orthodox posture. Okay? Divine nature, complete Godhead, and human nature, complete humanity, without confusion, without change, without division, and without separation. One person, hypostasis. Okay? So, what's the important? Jesus is one person with two natures, human and divine. Okay, Monophysites said Jesus is one person, but the human nature was absorbed by the divine, so Jesus was not human at all. Okay? The Council established the doctrine of Christ having two natures, divine and human, united in one person, hypostasis. The two natures are united without confusion, without change, without division, without separation. The four adverbs. The Greek term prosopon, mask, which came to mean person, was notably used in this definition to articulate how Christ, two distinct natures, exist in one person. It was just what we were saying. This is one person with two natures. Okay? The Confession of Faith, literal text. Okay? We confess one and the same Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, perfect in divinity, perfect in humanity, truly God and truly man, the same from a rational soul and body. The difference of the natures being by no means removed because of the union, but rather the property of each nature being preserved and concurring in one person and one hypostasis. This definitive statement established the orthodox understanding of Christ's dual nature within a single person, a cornerstone doctrine for most Christian traditions. Okay, so this is very important because it was the most accepted um, doctrine of Christology for the most of the Christians. But what happened? It was not going to be easy to keep this. And we're going to see what were the context and the consequences of, of this council. Okay? Following our Lord Jesus Christ, we teach with one voice that He is to be acknowledged in two natures, without confusion, without change, without division, and without separation. Okay? This distinction between nature was never abolished by their union, but rather the character proper to each of the two natures was preserved as they came together in one person, prosopon, and one hypostasis. Chalcedonian definition. Okay, now that we understand a little better the doctrine, the Christology, we're going to pass to section 2. Who were the key figures of this council? The people, the names. Okay? There were two important characters here: the imperial and papal authorities. Emperor Marcian intended for Pope Leo I to preside over the council, aiming to begin his government with an ecumenical council. Pope Leo the Great was unable to attend due to other Roman matters, but sent representatives to the council. Leo's epistle, or tone, was crucial to understand what happened in those moments in the church. Okay, so we have here Emperor Marcian and Pope Leo I, two main characters here. Who were the antagonists? Dioscorus I of Alexandria presided over the Second Council of Ephesus 449 AD, where he supported Eutyches. But the Pope did not recognize the Second Council of Ephesus, and it was called the Robber of Ephesus, Latrocinian of Ephesus. Okay, at Chalcedon, Dioscorus was condemned for his lawless audacity against the discipline of the canons. Okay, what I say, I have said, to which I have nothing to add. Dioscorus defiant stand before being deprived of all priestly ministry. And we have to notice one thing. Dioscorus said that he was defending the the orthodoxy of the Council of Ephesus, the first Council of Ephesus. So he said he was defending the posture of Cyril of Alexandria. When Cyril died, his successor was Dioscorus. But the problem with Dioscorus is that he supported the Monophysitism of Eutyches. Okay, Eutyches was a monk from Constantinople who sparked the controversy with his Christological views. He was condemned by Flavian. Who was Flavian? Flavian was the Patriarch of Constantinople. He noticed the mistakes of Eutyches, and he split from Eutyches. But what happened here? Eutyches appealed to the Pope Leo I, and actually the Pope got notice of this conflict by the appealing of Eutyches before that the letters of the Patriarch of Constantinople. Okay, so what happened here? Eusebius of Dorylaeum was the accuser of this heresy, and Eutyches appealed to the Pope and to the Patriarch of Constantinople, but he was rejected by both of them. But he got the attention of Dioscorus, and so Dioscorus convoked the second Council of Ephesus, and he restored Eutyches and rejected the position of Flavian. Actually, the Pope and the Patriarch of Constantinople rejected the Council of Dioscorus, and it was named the Robber of Ephesus. Section 3. Ecclesiastical Governance. This is the section where we are going to analyze the canons of the church. Okay, a brief analysis. Canon 1 stated that the canons of every synod of the Holy Fathers shall be observed, affirming the authority of previous councils' decisions. Okay, the canon number 2 forbid simony, strictly prohibited the buying or selling of ordinations, addressing the practice of simony that had corrupted parts of the church. Canon 6 Ordination decreed that no one is to be ordained absolutely and must be appointed to a particular church for the ordination to be valid. Disciplinary Canons, Part 2. Monastic and Clerical Life. The Canon 4. Monastic Life. Monks must be subject to their bishops and cannot erect monasteries without permission. Notably, a slave cannot enter into monastic life without the consent of his master. Okay, remember, in those times, slavery was a common practice even in the Western and civilized world. Okay, Canon 16, marriage, forbade monks or nuns from marrying with a penalty of excommunication. Okay, Canon 9 stipulated that clerics should not use secular courts for disputes between clergy members. Okay, if you were a clergy and you have a problem with another clergy, you have to be conscious that you could not have a discussion through a civil tribunal. You have to appeal to clerical authorities. Okay, and well, the controversial Canon 28. This is described as the most controversial canon and still debated to this day. Equal privileges to the most holy throne of New Rome, Constantinople, judging justly that the city that is honored with the sovereignty and destinate should also, in ecclesiastical matters, be magnified like her and occupied the second place. The second place after who? After the ancient Rome. Okay? The decision was based on the city's imperial status, not apostolic tradition, which Rome firmly rejected. Okay, so Rome had the primacy of honor based on apostolic foundation by Peter. Okay, and Constantinople, New Rome, would have the second place, but the canon is very clear. Uh, it was only after Rome, and it was based on political and geopolitical facts and geopolitical reasons, but appealing to apostolic tradition, it was Rome still the first see. The apostolic see was ancient or old Rome. But Pope Leo rejected this canon because it was written when the papal legates were already gone. So the papacy did not validate this canon because of that. Okay, and this is also important, not only the Christological matters, and it was very controversial, okay, because there was still more trouble after this. But let's analyze a little bit the impact of Canon 28. Okay, Rome asserted primacy derived from Peter, not civil authority, and rejected Canon 28 at the time. Some historians view this as the real beginning of the Great Schism, centuries before the formal break in 1054. Okay, but let's see a little bit of timeline. In 451, it was the canon of Chalcedon. Constantinople granted equal privileges to Rome based on imperial status. Okay, what happened next? In the Fifth Ecumenical Council, the Second Council of Constantinople, there were great tensions between the East and the West over theological authority, and there were huge conflicts about this because it was the controversy of the three chapters. We're going to treat that topic in next video, but it's important to know that it was a real problem. And what happened then? There was the Seventh Council, the Seventh Ecumenical Council, that was the Second Council of Nicaea, where the controversy was about the icons and the incarnation of our Lord Jesus Christ. It was the last council that was accepted by both churches, the Church of the West and the Church of the East. And finally, the Great Schism of 1054 AD, where Rome and Constantinople excommunicated each other. But there was a problem here before the Great Schism. Okay, Section 4. Lasting Schism and Aftermath. Okay, the Chalcedonian Schism was very painful, and it was the first great schism of the church. I think that in some way it was even more important than the schism of 1054, because it was the first time that the church was formally divided, that a full patriarchate separated from the rest of the church. Okay, despite aiming for unity, the Council of Chalcedon led to major and lasting divisions within Christianity. Many Monophysite Christians in Syria and Egypt, particularly the Copts, rejected the Council's definitions and gradually felt themselves part of a distinct community from that of the Greeks. The schism, described as much stronger than the Great Schism of 1054, as it led to immediate separation rather than a gradual drifting apart. Okay, that's what we were talking about some moments ago. It was really, really fast. The split was immediate, and it was very sad. And here we can see the regions that adopted the Monophysite doctrine. But well, it's important to say that they don't perceive themselves as Monophysites. They say they are Miaphysites, which is a little bit different. But how can we say it? They say that the Monophysites say that the divine nature absorbed the human nature. And Miaphysism says that both natures mixed, the human and the divine nature of Jesus mixed, and one person had one mixed nature, which is a little bit different from Monophysitism. Okay, but let's see. Region, Egypt. Okay, Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria. Okay, this is the those who got apart from Chalcedonian definitions are called Oriental Orthodox churches. Okay, so Egypt, Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria. Syria, Levant, Syriac Orthodox Church of Antioch. Armenia, Armenian Apostolic Church. Ethiopia, Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church. Eritrea, Eritrean Orthodox Tawahedo Church. And India, Ankara Orthodox Syrian Church. Okay? Oriental Orthodox churches. Okay, the communities that rejected Chalcedon later defined their doctrines as Miaphysitism, Christ having one unified divine human nature. It was one person, one nature. Okay? But what does the Chalcedonian definition says? One person, two natures with hypostasis. Okay? These non-Chalcedonian Christians began installing rival patriarchs in the same sees of Antioch and Alexandria, directly competing with Chalcedonian patriarchs. This created parallel ecclesiastical structures that persist to this day, forming today's Oriental Orthodox Communion. Yeah, for example, the Coptics, which have Tawadros, Theodore, Tawadros in Coptic, Theodore in Greek, in English. Theodore is the Pope of the Coptics. The Coptics are the members of these Oriental Orthodox churches. But there is also the Patriarch of Alexandria in communion with Constantinople. But there is also a Catholic Patriarch uh, of Alexandria. So in Alexandria there are three patriarchs today, and also in Syria, in Antioch, there are five patriarchs also. So it's a very difficult situation there. But well, let's see. The split at Alexandria. Patriarchate of Alexandria before 451. Only one patriarch. There comes the Council of Chalcedon, and there is a Greek Orthodox patriarch with the Chalcedonian line and the Coptic Orthodox Pope. Okay, in this line, the first could be Dioscorus, and today the successor is Tawadros. But they consider themselves as defenders of the orthodoxy of Saint Cyril. Okay? Well, let's see a little bit of what happened. Okay? The road to Chalcedon and its aftermath represents a critical period in the development of Christian doctrine and church governance. Okay? Okay. In the year 448, Home Synod of Constantinople. Okay, it was a home synod. It was not ecumenical council. Okay, and in this synod, Eutyches is condemned for his Monophysite teachings under Bishop Flavian. Okay, this is what we were talking about. In this home synod, Constantinople condemns Monophysite teachings of Eutyches. Okay, but what happened? Dioscorus, with the support of the emperor, makes a council in Ephesus, which pretended to be the second council of Ephesus. But the Pope and the Patriarch of Constantinople did not recognize this council, and it was named the Robber Council. In 449, Dioscorus presided and reinstated Eutyches, and it was very important to solve this problem immediately. Okay, so in 451, it was the Council of Chalcedon, and the Council of Chalcedon defined Christ's two natures, issued the Aricanons and condemned Eutyches and Dioscorus, the both of them. And what happened after this? The Chalcedonian Schism. Monophysitism develops as a distinct doctrine. Oriental Orthodox churches separate. And I want to point this quote: "For the sake of order, to guard the faith, the Holy and Ecumenical Synod decrees that no one is to bring forward or write or compose any other creed," from the definition of Chalcedon. Okay, and what was the dual legacy of Chalcedon? Pivotal achievement. The Council successfully defined the dual nature of Christ within a single person, a cornerstone for most of Christianity. Unintended consequence: its theological pronouncement and disciplinary canons solidified tensions and led to major schisms, permanently altering the landscape of Christian confessions. Okay, here we have again the Chalcedonian churches. Okay, the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox churches. Non-Chalcedonian churches from two natures: Coptic and Ethiopia Orthodox, Syrian and Armenian Orthodox. Okay. Cast of characters. Emperor Marcion. He wanted Pope Leo to preside the council. Okay. And he wanted to begin his government with an ecumenical council because the former emperor died a little bit of time before, and the former emperor was the one who supported Dioscorus and the robber of Ephesus. Okay, Pope Leo, Roman theological authority, unable to attend but sent representatives. His tome heavily influenced the council's definition of Christ. Okay, what happens with the tome? Before the council, the Pope wrote a tome to Flavian defining the Christological position of the Orthodox Church, and it was read out loud in the council, and the fathers of the council said, "Peter has spoken by the mouth of Leo." It was a very important moment because in some way the Roman Catholic Church says that the whole church recognized the authority of the Pope in matters of doctrine. Okay, Dioscorus I, Patriarch of Alexandria, supported the Eutyches and presided over the Second Council of Ephesus, condemned at Chalcedon for lawless audacity. Eutyches, monk from Constantinople, sparked the controversy with his Monophysite views, condemned by Flavian, readmitted by Dioscorus, finally condemned at Chalcedon. Flavian, bishop of Constantinople, opposed Eutyches and was deposed at the Second Council of Ephesus. His treatment became rallying cry for the Chalcedonians, but he was reinstalled after all of this. Defining moment, the Council of Chalcedon was a monumental effort to achieve doctrinal clarity and unity within the Christian faith. Its definition of Christ became foundational for a majority of the world's Christians. However, the Council's theological and political decisions also created deep fissures, particularly between East and West, and between Chalcedonian and non-Chalcedonian communities that have lasted for over 1500 years, 1500 years. Well, I hope this little explanation uh, can be useful for you to understand a little bit better the Christology that most of Christian confessions have today.